Okay, I'm gonna try to remember the one, and maybe we'll. All right, friends, I hope you have enjoyed your meals. And it is now my distinct pleasure to be able to introduce to you John Bear Mitchell. John Bear is a citizen of the Penobscot Nation, a lecturer at the University of Maine on Wabanaki Studies and Multicultural Studies. He serves as UMaine System Office Native American Waiver and Educational Program Coordinator, and has served on numerous museum and educational boards with missions related to Wabanaki people. For the past 2 years now, he has met with participants in a spiritual ecology for spiritual leaders gathering for multi-faith emerging leaders that the BTS Center co-sponsors with Auburn Seminary. So I have had the chance to be in the same room with John Bear a couple of times, and he is a person of wisdom, a person with a huge heart, and I find a beautiful sense of humor. John Bear is also a storyteller. He has toured with the Native American storytellers of New England, and his singing and storytelling can be heard in many Maine PBS and tribal-sponsored awareness videos, documentaries, many other places. So I invited John Bear to start us off this evening with the gift of a story.
Holy Monk, it's good to be here with you. My name in my language is Chimuan Muslim. My name in English is John Bear. And we have two stories that really talk about kinship and the relationship to our kin. But I want you to understand, or to have some knowledge, that within the Wabanaki tribes of Maine and the Maritimes and Quebec, that our kinship does not exclude nature. And sometimes our interactions with nature maybe are violent, but that's our interaction with our kin. There was a time, a long time ago, when there was a scarcity of food. There was a mother, we called her the first mother in English. We didn't use English. I'm translating for you. And she had every ambition, every mission, every goal for her was to make sure that even before she ate, that her young ones ate. And in times when there was hardly any food around, animals are competing for the same food we are. We don't want to eat the animals that are competing for the same food we are, because the animals are sickly. They themselves are not good nutrition. They need to be fed so we could be fed. At the same time, we needed to be fed at the same time they were fed. What do? The two grown sons, one young son, and Meatokes, the father, Naganigwis, the mother, didn't have any understanding what they could do. The fishing wasn't great. The hunting was not happening. And the gathering was scattered. The mother, she felt it was her ultimate obligation to feed her children. There was no question. She needed to do what she needed to do to feed her children. She prayed. She went without eating even small amounts of food so she could have a vision, so she could gain her answer. What is it I can do for my family? Mother Earth, linguistically, you can't give us what we need. Give me one. The rain. You're not here. We need you too. Times were very tough. What do I do? She kept praying, Vegetulin, Vijuagin, we need to have some food. You need to bring me food. Wajok Gamma, help me. Help me to help my children. No answer came day after day. Until one night, she had woken, almost in a panic. She had the answer. It wasn't pleasant. Because as she was growing up as a young child, she would always head down to the stream to play in the water, to gather water. She was supposed to actually be doing chores. It always ended up with a little bit of playtime. And as she waded through that water for hours and hunted for crayfish, just walked around, sat in the water, splashed it on herself, she'd leave that water. Every time she'd leave that water, she'd look down at her ankle, her heel. And there would always be this strange looking leaf that grew from her heel. And she'd rip it off. And she'd discard it. She never knew what it was. It only grew on her feet. It only grew when she was spending time in the water. She never told anybody about it. Her parents never knew. Her siblings never knew. Nobody ever knew. She'd always rip that leaf off each foot before she put her shoes back on, or how we say shoes in my language, moccasin. Put her shoe back on, her moccasin back on, and go do her chores, and had no thought about that again. That happened her whole life. It was her secret. She kept it. Why bother? She never heard anybody else have that issue, but she figured there must be other people. They're just keeping it to themselves, like she was. Well, it was at this moment later on in her life, as an adult, with children who, two of which were young men now, realized that this was a gift. That message, that prayer didn't come right off. Jabala, the spirit of the eagle that brings you the answer to your prayer, sometimes will deliver that, but you can't open the envelope for a few years. This is when it happened. All of a sudden, she was understanding the whole context behind her gift. This is a gift. I have the ability to feed everybody, not only in my family, but in other communities. And not only in my generation or the next, but for generations immemorial, forever. I have to do it. I have to feed my family. The next morning, she met her family for breakfast. What little they had. A few acorns that were mashed up. Still had a little bit of flour left over from the cat nine tails. That strawberry shortcake. She missed my plate. Just saying. And it works. I have the ability to feed you too. But she met with them. A little bit of flour mixed with water, smeared on a hot stone next to a fire, made some kind of bread. Nothing fancy, but it worked. So you say, children, included her partner. I'm not going to use the word husband because that has sort of like a business connotation, taxes and stuff. We didn't have those back then. But her partner, she said, I decided to tell you about a gift I've had since I was a little girl, but I've never even told anybody. And she explained that when she stands in the water, when she gathers water, when she's out and about, she grows this strange looking leaf from her ankle and her heel, and she rips them off and discards them before anybody can see them. They never knew that. They were baffled by this. What do you think that means, Mother? What is that? How come it doesn't happen to us? She said, I know my gift. I know it now. What's my gift? She said. Well, my gift is for you. I am the first mother. I am the corn mother. They didn't understand what corn was. What is corn? And she explained what she thought it was. She said, I was put on this earth to nurture the soil so that corn could grow, and it will grow in seeds, and you can't eat the amount of seeds that it's going to grow. So you'll replant those next year, and the year after, and the year after, and it will get bigger and bigger in crops. And you will learn to feed your people in the future. We call it today, it's called Abenaki glass corn. And they said, well, how do we grow it? And she said, this is the ultimate sacrifice, and you got to realize that what I do for you. Do not question it. Do not be emotional with it. But in that field in the morning, you will grab me by my feet, and you will drag me on my back around the field and around the field until you come into the field in a spiral until you get to the center of that spiral. When you get to the center of that spiral, there will be no flesh on my body, but I'll be mere bones. You'll have spread me in that field. Take my bones, bury them in the center. From my flesh that is in the soil, in that circular pattern, spiraling in towards the center of the field, in not too long a time, will grow tall stalks of corn. Many of them. You will eat them like that, right off the stalk. You will use the silk that grows out for medicine. You will dry some seeds for next year, and you'll share them with neighboring communities. As long as you have these seeds, as long as you have this knowledge and technology, we will all exist. Our families will become strong. We cannot exist in kinship just as humans. We must exist in kinship also in relation to the land. And if we don't look at the land as our relative, and we treat the land as something that we can control, that we have control, we will fail to exist. We need to understand our relationships, our kinships exist in every facet of this planet. Within the soil, the rain, the animals, the ocean, and all its fish, and all of us who look the same. There was a lot of arguing. Mother, we're not going to do that to you. She said, you have no choice. You will die. And I have no intentions of having you die. Just grab my feet, walk forward, and don't look back. They had ceremony that night. They accepted it. And the next morning, as instructed at sunrise, they did what she had asked. Dragged her around that field in a spiral till they got to the center. And when they got to the center, they buried her bones. She told them previously that where her bones will be, will grow something that will be connected to her, that she will see all the time. It's called tobacco. Now, tobacco is a spirit, and that spirit can be lit, and that smoke can go up. And everybody, all of creation will see it and honor it for its sacrifice. But don't be sad for me. Please don't be sad for me. This is my purpose in life. I am Corn Mother. She instructed them every year that when they plant that corn and it just starts to grow, that they do a dance, that they sing a song. She taught them the song. She showed them the dance. And to this day, we still do that. It's called the green corn dance because it's when the corn is green, it's when it's done. When the dance is conducted. And the dance actually depicts the division within the cells of the corn from growth to its adulthood during harvest. It's a beautiful dance. It's a beautiful song. And it always starts out with the death chant, which is to honor the mother, which kept us all alive and gave us everything we needed to this day, including the lessons that our women are our leaders and our men absolutely will follow their direction as a matriarchal society, living in harmony and balance, not in power with all others. Decisions made for everybody. 23 clans, 23 political parties. Our democracy will never fail. Was embedded within that message too. And for 3,000 years, the Wabanaki Confederation has held the continuously operating government that we still do today, but we do it in modern times. But we've never broken our promise to our first mother. And that story really, hopefully, shows you our commitment to how we live our life because of the sacrifice that was given so that we could continue to live. We're all the answer to somebody's prayer while they were sick and dying, whether they were in pain during massacres. No matter what, when they prayed for their future, they prayed for us. They would never meet us. But because I'm the answer to their prayer, I have to live my life respectfully and in an honorable way so that what they died for was not meaningless. And that's the message of the first mother.
Thank you, John Baer. We want to give you a moment to reflect. So you may or may not still have fabric on your tables, but paper works just fine. If there's something, a phrase that you want to capture from what was just shared and end up weaving into the loom at some point, this is your moment to think about that and write it down.
In our chat, I put that we can also reflect on share messages that rose for us during John Bear's story. And we could also share in the chat any words, phrases, ideas, questions that have been stirred up for you today.
So, John Bear, I introduced you in the way that we usually introduce people at these sorts of things, with like what your job is, the boards you served on, and such. And I want to just give you an invitation to introduce yourself as you would want to be known and understood in this room.
Okay. Berna Wopskid and Algeria. The Dilla Mabok Moy, Nagakaka Goose. Ijiboli the Hadam, Ali Skijin away. Ijiboli the Hadam, get the Skijin what way. I'm from a village where the rocks come out of the water. It's a small island in the Penobscot River. Holds our name. And the Penobscot River, by my tribe, has been given citizenship. And protected as every citizen in the tribe should be. We will stand up for every citizen, and the river is a citizen. My family clans, first most, we're matriarchal, is the Crow clan. That's our spiritual leaders. That's our priests, our ministers, our rabbis, all of our school and others. It's our spiritual leaders. And the Bear clan is secondary, basically meaningless when we have our, I mean, we still have a role, but as far as having your matriarchal clan, the Bear clan are the doctors that fix your broken bone and sew you up. So we got both sides there. I want to sing a little song for you real quickly, and I'm going to translate it for you first. It says, "Keep it sacred that we are all humans. My friends, let us get together. Keep it sacred where we all come from, referring to our ancestors. My friends, let us help one another. Let us help each other, for we were created. And we were put on this earth. We have work to do. You're all doing it. I'm just going to sing it one time through. Give me the debonair, donde yo no sé, nega más du que mawidane. Give me the debonair, don la bexote. Madukines don gizu deligalu seula sistamu heya heyo weyo hey haya ya weyo weyo hey haya weyo hey haya ya weyo hey haya weyo hey haya weyo hey haya ya weyo hey haya heyo. I am a son to a very beautiful mother. I'm a brother to two other brothers and a sister. I have 56 first cousins on Indian Island. I'm a teacher. I'm a friend. I am also somebody's bitter enemy. There are those who have made me their devil. It does not distract from my work, because I know I walk a good road. My passion is education. All my degrees, besides my electrician's degree, is in education. All are in education. And my passion is to teach through stories, to teach through indigenous knowledge approaches. And I practiced that in my teaching. 23 years at the University of Maine, and well over 120 courses taught during that time. And so I've reached a lot of students, and I'm hoping I made an impact. They all walk away as allies, every one of them with permission to speak out and to speak for and to be allies. My job is to teach the teacher. That's who I am.
Thank you. I feel I want to take this moment for a little confession. And thank you for being willing to listen to me in this moment. I have been taking part in a many-week program with Wabanaki Reach called Deconstructing Christian Imperialism. And actually, there's a handful of people in this room that have been part of that with me. And we have been learning about and wrestling with Christianity's, my religion's central role in the colonization of this place we now call Maine, and the genocide of the Wabanaki people. What happened and is happening is not okay. And As an ordained person in the United Church of Christ, I want to apologize to you, a Wabanaki elder, for the many, many takings, for the killing of people, the destruction of ritual and spirituality, done in the name of my religion, by my settler ancestors and fellow self-identified Christians, in ways that continue to benefit me and mine. And I want to commit to you, John Bear, to continue to open my heart and mind and to take risks for the liberation of the Wabanaki people and all of us. And I say this not for you to say to me, it's okay. And I say this not for you to say, thanks or good job, but it matters to me that you know that I'm trying to pay attention. So may it be so. Amen. May it be so that we might make these sorts of commitments. All of us that carry the identity Christian or whatever identity feels important in reckoning with the times that we're in. I'll admit I feel like a toddler, totally stumbling around as I learn. And this is a lifelong journey. I do wonder if there's something you hope that spiritual leaders, and there are many Christians in this room and many of other spiritual backgrounds and belief systems, but is there something that you hope we might better understand, especially in this fragile and complicated moment between Native and non-Native peoples?
There's a bunch of things we should all understand. First of all, I think for the most part is that we all believe in a higher power, a creator, a God, something that exists so that we have some hope to grab onto. We all need to understand that we're related in that way. I also think that we all have to understand that we are all humans when it comes right down to it. And it's good we have our different beliefs. That doesn't separate us. That just makes us stronger. I think when we look at it as sort of from an indigenous lens, when we talk about this kind of stuff, that we understand that we all are allies for each other, that we can make the crowd bigger even if you don't have a voice, you don't want to use your voice, show up. Make the crowd bigger, because that makes a difference. Show up. You know, when I was a kid, just a little side story, my mother thought I was very weird. Still does. But I remember asking her to drop me off at a Catholic church because I wanted to be an altar boy. She said, you have to make first communion. I said, they won't know. I'll watch what they do and then I'll ask the priest. So I went to a Catholic church for 2 weeks in a row and I memorized what they did. So I altar boyed for a year. After that was done, I was tired of it. The late night stations of the cross and everything. I told the priest I was never baptized. He said, I thought so. So I said, now I want you to take me to a Pentecostal church, drop me off. I said, you know, that's different, right? I did that 1 week. And that was fun. Sorry. A lot of singing. And then I remember telling her, drop me off at one of the temples, the shul I wanted to go. She said, I don't know if you're going to make it on that one. You're 15 years old. So I stood outside and I asked one of the old guys, what is, I want to go in there. He said, are you Jewish? No. You'd be my nephew. You kind of look like my nephew. Slapped something on my head. And I sat next to him and his wife. Come to find out, they owned department stores in Old Town where I was living, and they hired me, and I worked for them for 3 years. Best business move ever. So I think when we talk about things like this is that if we know each other, if we understand each other, we don't fear each other. And I don't think I think I inadvertently did that out of my curiosity. But at the same time, I really got the impression that I needed to find my way because there was something for me. And I went back to ceremonies. And I went to wampum belt readings, and I went to sweat lodges, and I went to fasting ceremonies, and I found me. And it's through that we support each other and that we love each other. Because if we don't love each other, like seriously love each other, then we're just existing around each other. And I think we do love each other. I honestly do. I really do. I feel it. When I talk to you, you're all doing incredible individual work that collectively makes it so much better for me in life and everybody else. And our elders here, you're not useless. You've lived a life that paved the way for the youth today. Use your voice, because the elders will not speak unless they're asked. Some won't speak because they don't know the answer. Others won't speak because they're afraid. But use your voices. You're beautiful. Your life's work is not for naught. Just because people aren't asking you questions in your family anymore about their daily life and advice, you still have so much to offer. So be there. And younger ones, listen to them and ask them questions.
In this theme of kinship, that relationality between humans and the more than human world feels so essential. I think sometimes in climate work, people lead to this conclusion of, oh, if humans could just get out of this situation, everything would be fine. I think that's a misinterpretation of kinship, that we desperately need one another, fellow humans and more than humans. I referenced this book earlier today. It's part of a series called Kinship, Belonging in a World of Relations. And one of the editors is Robin Wall Kimmer. And I wanted to read just a paragraph from her essay in this book. She says, "We crave belonging, but in our human exceptionalism, we are left with only longing. Now, what if species loneliness goes both ways? What if the other beings are lonely for us too? Certainly they long our respect and gratitude, but perhaps they also long for our company, the way we can be brilliant and flawed, wise, ignorant, ugly, beautiful, and downright hilarious. Relatives accept you no matter what. What if they miss our stories? What if they are asking for help and we just put on headphones and turn away? That's not what was agreed to at the beginning of the earth, or what is needed so much nearer the end." I wonder how you understand humans as part of this kinship thing.
Right. Because it's a relationship, right, with everything. There was a word resource in there, which always throws me a little bit. Resource kind of implies it's there for the taking. And that because we're dominant, it belongs to us. And we can take as much as we want, even if we don't need it all. And so when we look at this whole relationship to kinship within the land, We got to understand that our traditional elders that have the knowledge that teach our young ones are doing it based on what the land will give us, not what we can get from it. But it makes a decision too. And that's what I think that relationship she's referring to is. Because you can only get what gives itself up. We have this little story that when you go out to gather medicine plants, Pizun, whether it's for spiritual medicine to burn, to spiritually cleanse you, or whether it's physical medicine to make something out of so it's going to heal you. You got a lung disease, sore throat, sinus infection, you know, gout, whatever. We go to that plant, we find it. Oh, there it is. And we give it an offering out of respect. It's a plant. We give it an offering. And then we leave it alone. And we go find the second one. Because if we take the first one, that could be the last one. One time my kid asked me, my son said, but Dad, what if somebody comes along and takes that one you just left the offering to? So that's fine, they found another one. And that's the same thing we got to do when we catch our first fish in the spring. We go put it next to a bear den. So when that bear comes out, it's like, dude. Nice. I think I won't be aggressive towards those humans that look delicious. We don't take the first. We offer it to the animals. We don't shoot albinos because they've given themselves up so many times and come back to feed us again and again. That the Creator said, no more. You'll turn this color of the spirit world and nobody can hunt you. You've done your job. That's why it's sacred. So we have to develop this connection to the earth and understand the spirit world and what it's doing, because it's very cognizantly doing something like we do when we go grocery shopping. You know, we're hunter-gatherers in Hannaford. Yeah. We do it differently, not to sneak up on anything. Maybe you do. But we have to develop this understanding that we are just part of it. And that it can fail to exist for us very quickly, as we discovered in the pandemic. When we had to stand in line and only 50 people could go in the store. So, and shelves were not stocked. So we have to understand that our vulnerability, or the reason for our vulnerability, is based on our need for more and more and more, and not working collaboratively with nature, with ecological knowledge. Because that ecological knowledge will sustain you. And people die in the woods from starvation, and they show the picture where they died. You say, they could have ate that. They could have ate that. They could have ate that. It's like somebody dying on a $20 bill in the food court in the mall. Because they can't eat the money, but they didn't know how to use the resource. So we have to understand on a micro level, really what that relationship is and what it offers us. Because as we get older, we start just to think it's there. It's always going to be there. It's just not the truth. Many, many generations of people all over the world have had to abandon their countries, their territories, because it wasn't there. We got to redevelop that connection with Mother Nature. We got to go back, understand it. And then we'll keep going. Mother Earth has regenerated a few times. It'll be here long after we're gone. So that's the dinosaurs. But I think that's what it is all about, actually.
Thank you. I want to give you a moment to reflect again. Just reflect on appreciations and wonderings that are surfacing for you this evening. Appreciations and wonderings. Let's spend just a minute in quiet together, and then I'm going to invite maybe Alan and Ben can move some mics around, and we're just going to collect a few from you. Appreciations and wonderings. For those of you online companioning us, Feel free to put those appreciations and wonderings in the chat. And I promise to pass those on to John Bear afterwards. So please don't hesitate to be part of this. Let's spend a minute in collective quiet as you reflect. If you'd like to share, I invite you to use the old-fashioned mechanism of raising your hand, and Ben or Alan will come to you. And if you want to say your name, and standing would be great too.
Okay. John Bear, did you serve in the legislature?
No.
The reason I ask is that my grandfather did back in 1915, and he sat in seat 7, which is now the indigenous member's seat, and I was so thrilled when that happened.
Yes, there's many a John Mitchell that have served in the legislature. There's many other Mitchells too, but there's many a John Bear Mitchells that have held important positions within the tribes. I've always had the philosophy that I never want to be a chief, I always want to be an Indian. And so I'm probably going to be the first John Bear Mitchell since the 1500s that has taken it a little bit differently and turned it into an educational initiative. But
I was there at the State House when we gathered to try to overturn the delegate's veto.
yeah, thank you.
Chief.
Yes, thank you so much. We need our allies. We need voices. Thank you so much. Keep up your good work. Keep up your good work.
Appreciations, wonderings. Who else would like to share? No.
Allison Butcher from South Portland Way. I really appreciate the practice of not taking the first thing and the invitation to think about what it means not to take the first or do the first or be the first in a culture where I think we value being first. And being heard first and doing the first thing and achieving first place. So what it means to refrain as a spiritual discipline and as a practical practice, I thank you for that thought.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Christine Dyke. And my appreciation is you for sharing your story and reminding us, as a minister, I feel like I tell stories too much. But when you give us a story, I felt like I was invited into it. And it reminds me on my Sunday mornings to keep inviting people and really share a story, not just tell a story.
Yes.
Being a teacher.
Yes, I think some of the inviting what's happening in the room into the story is appropriate. I mean, even if you get a free strawberry shortcake out of it. But just, relating to people in the audience is very important because you have to not hear the story with your mind, you have to hear the story with your heart.
Mm.
And when you feel it, you're there.
Others.
My name is Liz, and I appreciate you very much, and I have a question. You teach teachers. What makes a good teacher, and what do you want teachers to know, or how do you, empower teachers to teach well?
That's a great question, and I'll answer that question backwards. Know what you want the students to learn. When you're teaching, don't think of what process you're going to take. Just think of what you want them to walk away with. And then work with a wide variety of interests in making sort of that lesson meaningful for the student. I like to work with other subject teachers and include Indigenous studies within math, science, writing, history, and the real history, and then create this ideology where we're actually having the students do the teaching based on their learning. And when they're teaching back and not testing, because I have a lot of degrees in education. Tests tell us what we don't know. If you know 60% of survival skills in the winter and I know 0, you're a genius. On paper, you're not. So I want to know what you do know. And so I want teachers to understand that students will relay the information back to you in a different way within the spectrum of how they learn. And so my goal really is to have them listen, to have them do and experience. And I think once they're doing that, they become excited about what they're learning. And if we can make them excited, they can't always be excited, but if we can make them excited most of the time, then we're doing what learning is supposed to be and has been for the thousands upon thousands of years that our children learned in the natural way, rather than the way they've been learning in the last 300 years, which is unnatural.
Maybe one more appreciation. Is there anyone who would want to offer an appreciation?
My name is Debra, and just deep appreciation, deep gratitude for giving us a glimpse of hope in a time when hope has become such a shallow thought for so many people.
Thank you. I love that word, hope. It means a lot of different things to a lot of people, but the bottom line is it means that there's light in our future. Thank you for sharing that.
I know you had one final thing you might want to share with this group.
Yeah, so before I leave, I thought that I was thinking, about the audience and all the important work that you're doing and the cool stuff that you guys got going on, and the beauty within every one of you. You're all beautiful. You're all full of light, and I can see it. And there is an old, I don't know how to say it in English. We call them seers. Another way it might be is prophecies, but that's not a word in our language. But there is a 7 fires prophecy you can look up and read about. We're in the time of the 8th fire, though, the final one. And that's when humans will make a decision on whether humans will exist in our future. We're the deciders. And we're told in this last fire that there are 2 paths. There's the path of the heart and there's the path of the mind. And I look at that, and these are written on wampum belts, which tell us our stories that are well over 1,000 years old. And I look at it and I say, how did they know? How did they know this was going to be a time? Like, and we happen to be the ones living in it. Oh, joy. And where are we going to go? So the path of the mind is that of the structure, economics, and politics of life, right? We need to think about these things, right? We have to. But then there's the path of the heart and what we know we need to do. What we know we need to do to continue our heritage and our futures and our traditions. But then when I was looking at it, and as I was thinking about it throughout my life, knowing that the eighth fire could last 100 years, it could last 200 years, it could last 50 years. And knowing that we're in this path of the final fire, I saw another path. It's not an even three-pronged fork. Instead, I see the middle one, leaning more towards the heart, but considering the mind. Because we have to survive in an economic situation. We have to survive in a political climate, which is toxic. But we can do this in a way that shows our children the path, I think. And so what I would suggest and what I would want to end with is that we understand or think about the path of the mind and the path of the heart. And where does that middle prong bend and why? Why do you think it bends this way or that way or in the middle? And what could you do for work? And how could you communicate that to get other people excited about it and to consider it at least a couple times a week when they're doing something where they go, wow, this is really the path of the mind. I need to kind of get over there a little bit more. I want to leave you with that thought.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.